All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about a massive shift that's happening in tech right now. And it's not just about code or hardware, it's about a really deep human need. We're going to explore why we can't stop talking to our AI, and what that might mean for, well, the undisputed king of the internet, Google.
You know, for almost 20 years, one company has basically been the internet for most of us. You don't search for something, you Google it. It's a reflex. But what if I told you that for the first time in a very long time, some cracks are starting to show? And that brings us to the big mystery we're unpacking today. Is the king of search actually losing its crown?
So, take a look at this. This data from StatCounter tells a really interesting story. For the first time since 2015, Google's worldwide market share has consistently dropped below that magic 90% number. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still the giant in the room, but competitors like Bing are starting to, chip away at that lead. It's a small change, but it's a steady one.
And that's the key, right? A dip of 1 or 2% might not sound like a big deal, but it's not a one-off thing, it's a trend. And that makes you wonder, is this just about Bing getting a little better? Or is something much more fundamental changing about us, about what we even want from a search engine?
To figure that out, we actually have to stop looking at the technology for a second and start looking in the mirror. And this is the core of our whole explainer today, the human in the machine. We're about to unpack this ancient and honestly completely unavoidable urge we have to see ourselves in everything.
Now, there's a fancy word for this. It's called anthropomorphism. But really, all it means is our automatic habit of giving human qualities to things that aren't human. I mean, if you've ever gotten mad at your laptop for being slow or petted your car's dashboard and said, "Good job," congratulations, you've done it. It's just how our brains are wired.
And listen, this is not a new thing. It's not some weird tech trend. It's a human trend. 30,000 years ago, our ancestors were carving a statue with a lion's head and a human body. The ancient Greeks imagined their gods as being jealous and funny and flawed, basically human. And today, we have full-on conversations with Alexa and Siri. The tech is different, but that impulse to relate to it like it's a person, it's exactly the same. So why? Why is this tendency so incredibly powerful? Well, research points to 3 main psychological reasons that explain why we're always seeing a human face in the non-human world. It seems to boil down to these 3 things. First, it's just easier for our brains. That's cognitive ease. Second, it's about our deep, deep need for social connection. And third, believe it or not, it's actually in our biology. It probably gave our ancestors a huge advantage. So let's break each of those down. Okay, first up, cognitive ease. Look, our brains are lazy, in a good way. They're always looking for shortcuts. So when you're faced with something really complex and unpredictable, like a hurricane, it's a lot easier to think of it as being angry than to understand all the complex meteorology behind it. It's the same reason we say a search engine crawls the web or a program sees a file. We're just putting a human face on it to make a baffling system feel way more simple and predictable.
The second driver is our need for social connection. I mean, we are social creatures through and through. And this instinct is so strong, we use our social rules on things that, well, don't have rules. Come on, admit it. Have you ever bumped into a table and said, "Oops, sorry," or felt like you should say please to your GPS? That's your social brain going into overdrive, trying to connect with everything around it.
And finally, this isn't just in our heads, it's in our bodies. It's biological. Studies show that oxytocin, the bonding hormone, actually makes us more likely to do this. And that suggests there was a real evolutionary advantage here. Think about it. For our ancestors, seeing a person in the shadows, imagining a threat, was a much safer bet than just assuming it was the wind. It kept us alive. Okay, so we've got this ancient biological drive to make things simple, to connect with them, to see a person behind the curtain. Now let's connect all of that back to our mystery about Google. This brings us to the new search playbook and how AI is tapping directly into that very ancient need. And this slide says it all. Really, this is the big shift. For decades, search has been a transaction. You type in keywords, you get a lift of blue links back. It's functional, yeah, but it's totally impersonal. AI search is a different beast entirely. It's a conversation. You ask a question, you get a direct answer. It feels less like using a database and more like talking to someone, which, hello, perfectly scratches that ancient human itch we were just talking about.
And this isn't just a hunch. We're seeing it in the real world. An analyst from Gartner, Noam Doros, points out that dip in Google's numbers could be a sign of younger people who grew up talking to AI, just naturally leaning into these new, more human-like ways to find information.
So, what's the takeaway here for anyone trying to get found online? Well, it's a massive wake-up call. Your strategy can't be Google, Google, Google anymore. You have to diversify. You have to start thinking about providing conversational answers, not just ranking for keywords. You got to watch how Google's own AI affects your traffic, and you absolutely have to keep an eye on how younger folks are finding stuff on totally different platforms. But making AI feel human isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's definitely a double-edged sword. And that brings us to our final question. Is this a friend or a fallacy? Let's look at the promise and the peril of building AI to be just like us.
So here's the biggest risk. It's something researchers call the AI hype fallacy. Our natural impulse to see a human in the machine can trick us into thinking it's actually conscious, or that it has real feelings or understanding. It doesn't. It's just incredibly clever math. And this can lead to some serious problems, like unrealistic expectations and misplaced trust.
But here's the catch-22. Even knowing that risk, the underlying need to see it as human is fundamental to who we are. As the research shows, that drive to simplify and connect is so powerful, we basically need to do it to even learn how to use new technologies. We literally can't help ourselves. It's how we make sense of the new and the strange. Which leaves us with this one final giant question. As we keep building AI to be more conversational, more relational, more us, are we actually creating better tools to understand the world? Or are we just building more and more perfect mirrors that do nothing but reflect our own ancient human needs right back at us? That's the real question at the heart of this entire new era.